For me, the parallel between the blurring of line in the Impressionist painters and the blurring of tonality is the actual connection between Impressionism. Now, as we know, Debussy historically had mixed feelings about that. He first denied that his pieces should be called Impressionism, but 10 years later he wrote in a letter to the publisher using the term himself in reference to his own work. So apparently he adopted it. And although we think of the idea of images of painting, to me it's the technique that links the two, whereas reality was being blurred by light by the Impressionists, and tonality is blurred by the kinds of techniques that Debussy was using. Blurred but never destroyed completely and never abandoned completely.
If you think of Monet haystack, it's the same haystack in the same position on the canvas, but the light is what is changing and the color is what is changing. And we see Debussy transposing that concept in so many of his pieces.
The other thing, I think he was interested in light. I think Reflet dans l'eau is fascinating. It's a bit like Monet, who, when he painted a water lily lake, okay, he's painting, but what is he painting? He's painting the water lilies, or is he painting the reflection of the light? And you look at that, and then a minute later you look through, and you see the bed underneath, and then you look and you see the sky, you see the flashes of light.
You mentioned the special quality of light. The thing about him, I think, is that he's thoroughly visual. It's light he's catching, but it's shapes and colours and gestures. He's got such a sense of space. Impressionism, in the best sense, it's the impression of what the eye sees before the brain has processed it, put it into boring drawers and said, you know, that's just the front of Rouen Cathedral, it's rough grey stone, file that away. It looks a bit different in sunlight, file it away in another box. It can look green, it can look blue, it can look pink. Monet has just painted exactly what the eye picks up before the brain tries to file it away and make it harmless. You can see Debussy doing that with sound as well.
says in his letters that he stored many memories, and especially vis-a-vis the sea. There's a famous letter where he writes to Durand that you might be surprised that I conceived La Mer in the Burgundian hillsides, nowhere near the edge of the sea, but I have stored from my childhood many memories.
I suppose the question is, how does a composer sound impressionistic? There's a wonderful painting by Georges Seurat, great pointillist, called Sunday at La Grande Jatte. Picture of people on the shore of the lake having a good time, and from a distance that's exactly what you see. But if you creep up closer and closer to the painting, you see mostly a series of dots, and it's extraordinary how your eye can combine all of these dots into an impression of people at the park. I guess that's where impressionistic comes from. And in La Mer, Debussy does very much the same thing. From a distance, if you're sitting in the audience, you get the impression of something going on. But if you look at the score and see how he actually scores these sounds, you'll be amazed to see how much detail is in the blurring. For example, here on this first page of the score, the work starts rather ambiguously. There's just a timpani roll on the B, and the basses are doubling it. Then the harps come in. There are two harps, and they play the same two notes, but a beat apart. So it sounds like this. So already there's a little bit of blurring. To make it even more of a blur, he has the cellos come in playing the same two notes, but an entirely different rhythm. They play. So when you add it together, again, same notes, but lots of blurring. Then to make things even more ambiguous, there's a viola melody that creeps in here, and the viola is almost unnoticed at the beginning. And if you'd like to play that, I will try to accomplish the cello and the harp lines underneath. So the beginning goes like this. Now, what's very unusual about that is that the violas are playing basically 2 beats per note, while everyone else has been playing 3 plus 3, the violas are playing 2 plus 2 plus 2. Mm-hmm. So 6 beats in each bar, but again, some blurring of the rhythm. So the whole opening, this is just the first 5 bars of La Mer, is filled with all these incredible details, rhythmic ambiguities, a blur, a wash of sound, giving the impression maybe of very, very simple laps of water overlapping at the shore or something like that. It certainly gives a calm impression.